Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to sit here and sort of talk about love. Love, I feel, is something that's often misunderstood, and it's viewed as a feeling, this wonderful rush of emotions and all of that, or an attachment to someone or something. But I like to look at love in terms of the practicalities of it. I like to look at love as an action rather than just a feeling. Especially when it comes to relationships. I think a lot of people look at love as if it's something that just sort of happens, something that happens to you or to both of you, or some sort of energy between you, rather than seeing love as something that you can grow, that you can build, that you can facilitate. You guys and girls know that action, as in taking action, is something that I talk about and advocate for a lot in my content. It's kind of one of my biggest philosophies, right? Take action. Don't just sit there and wait or hope that things will happen. And a relationship is something that I, especially in my relationship with my girlfriend Imogen, we've been together for about 5.5 years at this point. We have built everything that we have. It hasn't just been that we've sat there and, I love you, honey bunny, I love you too. There's obviously a lot of attachment and a lot of love and gratitude and all of that stuff, but it hasn't just magically happened. It hasn't just happened by accident. It has been building brick by brick the relationship for the last, like I said, 5.5 years. It's been a concerted, active effort that we've put in basically every single day, but especially, like every week when we go and do our weekly accountability check-ins and weekly, I guess you'd call it like a relationship check-in, where we spend the entire day together and we say, hey, like, how are you going with your goals? How am I going with my goals? How is the relationship in general going? How can we make it even better? What can we improve? How can we be building something beautiful together? And again, it hasn't just magically happened. I see a lot of people, I did a video recently called Fairy Tale Love is BS. And I won't say I broke down, but I went I went deep into the notion that a lot of people have of like love as just this beautiful fairy tale thing that just magically happens out of nowhere. And it's kind of almost viewed as if it's like fate or random luck, and as if no input that you would have or do would have any impact on love. In other words, there's just a soulmate out there for you, and through random chance you will find that person, and that has nothing to do with any effort that you've put in or any self-improvement that you've put into yourself, self-love, self-care, all of that kind of stuff. Has nothing to do with actively getting to know that person and putting in effort to grow the relationship. In fact, I think a lot of people look at what I'm talking about when I say build a relationship. A lot of people will look at that and go, well, that kind of ruins the romance of it. That takes the magic away. And it's like, well, fine. If you want something absolutely magical, randomly, good luck going and finding that. How do you even begin to find that? I think that's where a lot of people sit there and sort of suffer. They sit there and they pine for their future, soulmate, the future one that I will find. And they have no idea how to actually make that happen. And they sit there for, years, decades, being incredibly fucking lonely because they're going, when is my soulmate going to come along? Missing all of the wonderful people that they've met in their life that they could have built something with, because they're saying, well, I don't feel this insane magical feeling where it's like a Disney fairy tale, fucking bullshit. I'm not feeling that. So therefore this person, why would I even bother? They're sitting there basically waiting for the fairy tale instead of building the fairy tale. So I like to look at the actions that you can take. A lot of my content is around taking action to build love, taking action to build intimacy, to build connection. Some cheat codes there, and I've covered, these sort of things a million times, but gratitude is a big one. Praise, asking deep questions of your partner, whether that's casual, whether that's, a serious relationship, even just in friendships. There are many, many, many ways to build a beautiful relationship or build a beautiful friendship. Friendship is another one. A lot of people just sit there and say, I don't have any friends, or my friendships are kind of shallow. And it's like, build something deeper then. Like, that's on you to sort of build. So actions, I can probably give a really good example, or I can give a really good example here of moments in time where Imogen, my girlfriend, and I focused on actions to take to build the relationship. Because one thing that anyone who's been in a relationship for a while will tell you is you do have moments where that beautiful, magical fairy tale feeling of love kind of just like goes to the side a little bit. Like maybe one of you is going through a tough time. maybe one of you's a little bit depressed. Maybe you're both super stressed from work, or you have money disagreements or something like that. Or you've had a couple of big arguments lately, or maybe, your boss is pushing you really hard and really crazy, and you just don't feel that sort of loving, calm, peaceful energy when you're with your partner. Life can get in the way sometimes. And in those moments, if you have this mindset of like the soulmate or the one or my other half or this person's going to complete me, when you go through those moments of maybe struggle or maybe disagreement, or maybe you just don't feel like you like each other very much for a little bit of time, because that can happen sometimes. In those moments, if you're obsessed with this idea of fairy tale love and fairy tale Disney, sort of BS, you feel like there's something wrong. You look at the fact that maybe your partner is a little bit grumpy, or they're a little bit stressed, or maybe there's a little bit of a disconnect between the both of you. Maybe you're just, like I said, going through a rough time, and you'll say, fuck, something's wrong. Maybe this person isn't my soulmate. Fuck, maybe I chose wrong. Maybe something's bad. And then you kind of just end up feeling very lonely, disconnected from them. You don't take the actionable steps that might help you through that process, because you're not looking at love, or you're not looking at a relationship, but we'll talk about love. You're not looking at love as if it's a practical thing. You're looking at it like it's this nebulous, magical thing that's just kind of there, and you have no control over love, and there's nothing that you can do to build it, to improve it, to work through it, to be grateful for it, to notice it. Most of the time with love, it's just you noticing it, but because you're looking at it like it's just this magical up in the air thing that just kind of happens randomly and it's fate. What actionable step do you take during those moments where maybe there is a disconnect between you and your partner? Like, how do you get back on track with love? How do you, again, notice that you do love your partner, that there is love between you? You don't have the tools. You haven't used the tools or built the tools. So again, I like to look at love as an action, or I like to say to myself, and here's the way that I phrase it, what steps can I take to notice love in myself, to notice love for myself, to notice love for other people, for my partner, if you have a partner, for casual partners that you might just be seeing casually and having casual sex with, for friends. Like, how can I notice love? I have a million exercises for stuff like this. Probably the best one is go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, look into your own eyes and say, I love you, to yourself. And just notice how it feels, notice what comes up. Most people walking around, I'm sitting in front of my balcony window here. Most people out there, most of us, have never told ourselves that we love ourselves. And that notion for a lot of people, like when I say, hey, tell yourself that you love yourself, you're like, why? That's weird. Like, why the fuck would I do that? Isn't that arrogant? Isn't that strange? Isn't that, like, a lot of feelings might come up. But I feel like that, at least for me, has been the best tool that I've ever found for noticing the love inside myself, generating that self-love, so then I can then give that love to someone else. So, again, there's lots of actionable steps that you can take to build love. Most of the content on my channel, if you go onto my YouTube, you're already on my YouTube channel. If you click on my channel name and click in the playlist, I have a relationships playlist where I talk a lot about a lot of these concepts. So go and watch all those videos. But probably the best example I can give is Imogen, my girlfriend. We had this period of time where we'd gone through a hell of a lot of shit. Like, she and I have gone through a lot of stuff over the last 5 years. I think most couples who are into, like, both heavily into self-improvement and both have a strong growth mindset, like they're trying to grow, they're trying to learn, they're trying to evolve. I think most couples who are heavily into self-improvement would say that they've been through a lot of shit too. It's just because you're both changing at such a rapid rate. You're usually putting a lot of, I won't say pressure, but you're pushing yourself beyond your boundaries usually. Like, that's kind of what self-improvement is, right? It's getting right up to that point of like slight discomfort and then saying, okay, I'm going to sit here in discomfort. Like, that kind of is self-improvement to a T, isn't it? It's sitting in slight discomfort every day to the point where you basically chase slight discomfort. And I'm not talking about like suffering or pain or misery or like really hurting yourself or tons of pressure. No. Just like that little bit of discomfort, like doing that thing that scares you, that's slightly uncomfortable. That's kind of what self-improvement is. And if you have a partner, which is what I encourage all of you to do, if you find a partner who's also into self-improvement, or several partners, whatever you want to do, date, whether you're dating casually or monogamously, but if you have partners that are into self-improvement, you're all kind of evolving at such a rapid rate that, there is sort of this, there's a lot of stuff that you go through. I'll phrase it like that. And so, back to the point, she and I had both been through or have been through quite a lot of stuff. And all of the lockdowns and, the COVID hysteria and all of that sort of nonsense, I'm sure for a lot of you was very stressful as well, right? Like being locked up in your own house is enough to put pressure on almost anyone. And so we'd been through a lot of stuff. And she had this period of time, it lasted for about 6 months, maybe less than that, maybe 6 months, and she was very honest about it. She's like, I don't feel a lot of love towards you. And she had all of the stories in her head of like, the Disney fairy tale notions and, I'm supposed to feel love all the time and all of that. Whereas I had a much more practical view of love, where I was like, okay, if you don't feel love towards me, is that something that you would like to improve? And she said, yes, like I'm telling you because I want to feel love towards you. I want to feel patience. I want to feel kindness towards you. I want to feel empathy. I want to feel connectedness and intimacy and close to you. I want to feel that thing that we used to feel. And she was very tempted to think that something was wrong and to go, oh, fuck, this is bad. And she even expressed as much to me a few times. And she expressed as much to her friends and family. And she said, fuck, I feel like something's wrong because I'm not feeling the way that I used to feel. And a lot of them were sort of caught up in the Disney fairy tale notions of like, shit, honey, like, man, that sounds really bad. That's awful. Like, fuck, holy crap. Like, what are you going to do? But I was a lot more chilled about it. And I was like, hey, it's okay. I don't expect you to always feel a lot of love towards me. I don't expect you to feel a lot of like towards me. You don't always have to like me. But if you tell me what in particular you're feeling, what stories are in your head, what thoughts are in your head, then we can start tackling each one and just say, okay, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. And if at any point you don't want to do that and you're done, I would completely understand. But if you want to work through this and get back to that place of love with me, I'd love that. I'd love to help you with that. And I gave her a whole list of, like, she obviously said yes. That was the point of her bringing it up. She's like, yes, I want to feel love towards you. You're my partner. I want to be here with you. I just don't want to feel this lack of love, or I want to feel some love. And I think that's a common thing that a lot of like couples go through. I think it's pretty fucking common. I've spoken to a lot of my family who have been together for a long time. Most of my family have been together for like their entire lives, like as in married, like with their partner. My parents have been together for 40 something years at this point, I think. I think it'd be getting close to 50 years. And God, the best piece of advice my mother ever gave me was you're not always going to like the other person, but you just navigate that. You learn how to work through that. You learn how to improve that, and you get back to that place of love. And so I had a much more practical view of it, and I was a lot more calm about it when it did happen. And it's something that's happened a couple of times in our relationship. I didn't feel particularly fucking loving during all the COVID stuff. I really was not okay with all of that. I handled it as best as I could, but I was not full of love. I think Imogen and I basically didn't have sex. I think we would have sex like, I don't know, once every 3 weeks, once a month. Like, we didn't really cuddle much. When we hung out, it was like we spent all our time together because of the lockdowns. We were with each other 24/7, but like, it wasn't quality time, if you get what I mean, because I was so fucking depressed, because I was so angry and bitter at the world and all of that kind of stuff. And so I went through that period too. And anyway, getting back to the point of when Imogen wasn't feeling super loving towards me, I just gave her a list of loving things to do. I was like, right, well, if you want to feel more loving, you're telling me you want to feel more loving. The answer is do loving acts. Do things that make you feel love. That's what I talked about before. Go and look into your own eyes in the mirror and feel some of that love. Connect with yourself and figure out how you can feel love in your own day-to-day, and then you will have that to give to your partner. Do loving things for me, even when you don't want to do them. And obviously don't do something that you really don't want to do. But like, I'm talking about little things, like give me a hug when maybe you don't super feel like giving me a hug. Tell me something nice when maybe you just feel neutral and you don't feel like saying something. Write a list of like 20 different things that you could do for me that are loving every day. Come up with like 5 reasons that you're grateful for me and tell them to me, and I will tell you them back. Give me a list of 5 things every day that I can do that are loving towards you. Like, I can help you with this. This isn't just you need to, go away and learn to be more loving. I can also use this as a beautiful opportunity to be more loving in myself as well. And then I can give that to you. And so we started doing those tasks, mostly her, because I was feeling some love at that point. I was feeling a lot of love, but she started doing those things, and then something magical happened. After about like 2 weeks, it didn't even take that long. She just had this moment where she gave me the biggest hug, and she was just crying in my arms. And she's like, I love you so much. I feel like I feel love again. And I was like, yeah. Like if you view love as this feeling, it can be fleeting, because feelings do come and go. We are human beings. We are, generally speaking, pretty fucking emotional creatures. Our emotions go up and down and up and down. They're not generally consistent. Over time, you will become more consistent. You will become more stoic. You will, generally speaking, get a little bit more consistent, but you'll still have moments of up and down. Like, we're human beings. And so if you view those down moments of love, or like with love, if you view those down moments as like something is wrong, man, you're going to have a rough fucking time of life. You're definitely going to have a rough time of a relationship, because there just are those like downward moments. It just happens. But if you instead are able to say, okay, love is an action, or in other words, I can take action to get more in touch with love, the love in myself, the love for other people, the love for my partner, the love for my friends. I can take actions. And when I go into those little slumps, I can take an action to rise up a little bit quicker and get back to that beautiful point of like relative consistency. Again, you're still going to have like some ups and downs, but there are actions that you can take. Think about if you had a goal of like, I want to go to the gym. I want to lose weight. You wouldn't necessarily rely on 100% feeling motivated to lose weight every day. A lot of people do make that mistake. They're like, I'm only going to lose weight. I'm only going to hit the gym when I feel like it. And it's like, well, what about the days where you don't feel like it? And through the process of, working on a goal for long enough, most people figure out, oh shit, like when I don't feel like going to the gym, if I just kind of give myself a gentle little, and be loving about it, but a loving push to go to the gym, I feel really good. I then, the next day, feel like going to the gym again. The motivation comes back because I took action. And so the same thing with love. But again, people have this weird relationship with love where they see it as just this magical, fleeting thing where I'm not going to put any effort in. It just kind of happens. And there's almost this notion that if I put effort in with love, if I take action, I'm almost admitting that I don't have love. Like, man, I'm taking the magic away. And if I try too hard at love, isn't that an admission that something's wrong? And it's like, no. You wouldn't say that with the gym. You wouldn't be like, oh, I have to try so hard to go to the gym. Something must be wrong with my motivation. It's like, no, you just understand that you might need to gently push yourself to go to the gym. The same with love. You might have moments where you need to gently, and do it if you want to. You don't need to, but you might want to gently push yourself with love and go, fuck, I'm going to do something loving. I don't feel super close to my partner. Let me rectify that. I have had this conversation with my girlfriend Imogen so many fucking times where we have moments of just like a lack of motivation with the relationship. We've had periods of time where one or both of us just don't really feel like having sex with each other, for instance. We're just super stressed about work. Sex is like the last thing on our mind. We're just like, it's come from me with that stuff most of the time. And I'm just like, look, I'm fucking stressed about paying the bills. I'm stressed about coaching. I'm stressed about content. I'm not feeling super loving. I don't really even, sex is not on my mind. I just want to fucking get this business shit sorted. And I feel that feeling, or that lack of feeling, right? Because it's a lack of intimacy. It's a lack of love. I mean, I'm still feeling love. So it's a lack of intimacy. It's a lack of lust. It's a lack of like sex drive. I feel that and I go, okay, what steps can I take to rectify that? Okay, like as clinical as it might sound, what if we put in the calendar, at least once or twice a week, we will have sex. And on that day, it's literally in the calendar. I want to fucking do it. I'm not going to say, oh, I don't feel like it today. And yeah, half of those days I go, I don't feel like sex. So then, okay, what steps do I need to take to make myself feel like sex? Okay, well, I could just cuddle with her for a little bit. I could put the business shit aside for a little bit and stop stressing so much. I can get her to give me a strip tease. I can get her to get naked. Like I can do one of a billion things. And then guess what? You get turned on. You feel that motivation. You remember that you're attracted to your partner, that you want to have sex, that you feel that love. And you're reminding yourself of what was already there, but you had just gotten distracted from it with the business stress. And so that's what happens a lot. We get distracted from love. We get distracted from intimacy and connection and affection and all of those positive feelings because life gets in the way sometimes. It just does. And if you sit there and say, fuck, something's wrong because I got distracted, like, again, you're going to have a rough time of life, of relationships, of friendships, because Life is fucking distracting. So don't look for those tingles, that like tingly feeling of like, oh, I feel like I love you so much. Like that's beautiful. That feels nice, but that's infatuation. That isn't necessarily love. Like it's that surface level, like effervescent, like bubbly. Oh, I feel so good when I look at you. Oh, you're so pretty. That stuff kind of, it's not that it fades away, but you can get distracted from that feeling by life getting in the way. And so the way you get back to that nice little bubbly, tingly feeling of, oh, I love you so much, is not by saying, oh, fuck, something's wrong because I don't feel that bubbly feeling all of a sudden. It's by saying, okay, look, I don't feel that bubbly, giddy, happy, loving feeling. How do I get back to that place? What steps do I need to do to get back there? How do I get back there? What do I have to do? And you don't have to know the answer. You just try a bunch of shit. Like we didn't necessarily know the answer. When Imogen came to me and said, hey, I feel like I just don't feel much love for you right now. I didn't know what the fucking answer was, but we just said, let's try some shit and see what works. We tried like 50 different things and half of it worked, half of it didn't. And at some point, like I said, she came back to me, we were cuddling on the couch and she was crying and she goes, I love you again. Oh my God, I love you. And I was like, yeah, see, it's fucking what a relationship is. It's like when you have friends. I've had this with my friends too. I've had long periods of time where I don't feel like hanging out with my friends. Nothing against my friends. I'm just stressed as fuck or busy as fuck with content and coaching and shit like that. I don't sit there and say something's wrong. Oh my God, I don't feel like hanging out with my friends. I must be a bad friend. Oh my God. I just say to my friends, look, I'm super stressed right now. I'm super busy. I'm probably not going to hang out with you as much as we usually would. Is that cool? And they're like, of course that's cool, bro. Let me know if I can help you. And then what I would do is I would just gently push myself. And I do it because I want to. So don't push yourself if you don't want to. But I would gently push myself to hang out with my friends, to reconnect with them, to remind myself of why I want to hang out with them in the first place, because they're good for me, because I love them, because I love building that friendship and all of that. And I would do the actions that remind me that I like this friendship. So that's what love, or that's my advice for love. It's do the actions that remind you of love, especially in those moments where you're not feeling a lot of love. And again, this applies to the start of a relationship too. This applies to a casual relationship as well. Like don't sit there and go, I got to wait until I feel this magical feeling. And even outside of feelings, like this applies to sexual chemistry as well. God, even in a casual dating sense, so many people will go, I just don't feel a lot of sexual chemistry with this person. And I'll say, well, what have you done to generate that? Have you both sat there and told each other your sexual bucket lists, like all of your fantasies that you both have? And they go, no. And I go, do you not think that would create a lot of sexual chemistry? And I'll get guys and girls to go off and do this exercise. So you basically say to your partner, hey, write me a sexual bucket list of everything that you've ever wanted to try. I promise I won't judge anything that's on it. If there's something on it that I don't want to try, I'll just be nice about it. I'll be like, hey, look, I'm not super into that. Like, I promise I won't judge. I want you to put everything on there. It can be like the smallest things, the biggest things. It can be the most filthy, over the top, perverted, nasty shit that you've never told anyone. I promise I won't judge. I want to hear all of it. And I will write my own sexual bucket list. And so you both go away and you write your bucket list and you come back and you read each other's lists and you see like what you both might want to try. I've given so many people that exercise when they say, I just don't have any sexual chemistry with my partner. They come back and they're like, Jesus fucking Christ, I am so turned on by my, and when I say partner, I'm talking like casual sex, right? We're talking about casual sex, but it would apply to a proper relationship too. But, this person that I've been seeing casually, I thought there was no sexual chemistry, or there was only a little bit, but we did this bucket list exercise. I heard what was in their head. Holy shit. I can't wait to try this stuff. Like I'm just literally hard even thinking about it, or I'm wet thinking about it. So I love that kind of like taking action. And I think a hell of a lot of people, again, with casual sex, with relationships, with marriage, with parenting their fucking children, like raising their children, with friendships, with relationships with a boss or coworkers, they often just sit there and say, man, I don't feel like I have a connection with this person, or I can't feel any chemistry, or I just, my children don't understand me, any of these kind of things. And it's like, well, what actions have you taken to bridge that gap? Like, don't just sit there and wait for it to magically happen. It won't. You got to do or take some action to improve that. I wouldn't necessarily sit there and just, if you're in a relationship, I wouldn't sit there and hope that the feeling of love would just magically continue on its own. That to me even feels like such a low bar. Like, I hope we love each other forever. It's like, that feels like such a fucking low bar. Like, don't you want to raise the amount of love? Don't you want to keep building every single day, week, month, year? Like, don't you want to feel more love for each other when you're 50 than right now? Like just saying, I want to continue being in love. It's like, no, have a growth mindset. And that does require taking action, building the love, adding more to it each day. Same thing as when you're in a rut. Like when you're in a rut and you feel like, man, I don't feel super close to this person. I made this point before, but do something loving. Don't just sit there wondering what went wrong or where did the love go? How come we don't talk like we used to? It's like, then start talking. Instead of saying, how come we don't talk like we used to? How come we're not as close as we used to? Man, we don't have as much sex as we used to. Okay, put a plan in place to have more sex or to talk more. What days off per week do you need to take to then spend time together? Do you have to both put it in your fucking calendar with a reminder and a promise to each other that you will not cancel on that day for anything? If you're not as sexual as you used to be, okay, Monday, Friday nights, do we need to do something with each other? Do we need to put it in the calendar? 6 p.m., we're going to fuck the shit out of each other. And then we can get excited to it, get excited in the lead up to it. We can go and buy some toys. We can get a little bit kinky and freaky to reignite that spark. Like what actionable steps can you take rather than just saying something's missing, something's wrong? All of this obviously applies to friendship too. You might have moments, like I said, where you're not super close to your friends. Man, we don't talk as much as we used to. Why don't you say that to your friend? Bro, I feel like we don't talk as much as we used to. How do we fix that? Are you willing? Do you want to fix that with me? And obviously if they say no, then hey, that's reasonable. But if they say yes, then okay, bro, like, fuck man, like, how often can you hang out per week or per month? All right, I can hang out 3 times a month, like once every week, roughly. Okay, cool, sweet, bro. Let's fucking make a commitment to each other. We're going to hang out. We're going to do cool shit together. We're going to grow this friendship. We're going to build something fucking beautiful. So same thing applies to business as well. Yeah, it's like a lot of the time you sit there and go, man, I don't feel like a strong connection to my audience. Well, then build a strong connection to your audience. What steps do you need to take to build that? Man, I don't have as many people signing up for my coaching. Okay, fix that. What do you need to do? Man, a lot of my coaching clients aren't changing their lives as much as I would like to. Okay, tell them that and then sit down together and say, how do we change your life even more? Like with all of these things, you notice that I talk about bringing the other person onto your team or treating them like a teammate. It's not that you have to sit there and figure it out by yourself. In every example that I've given in this video, I've talked about telling the other person and asking them, hey, do you want to work on this with me? And obviously if they say no, beautiful, that's amazing. But most of the time they'll say yes. And then you build it with them, you grow it with them. So a lot of the time when we feel loneliness, especially in like a relationship, but all the other types of human, interaction and connection, but especially in a relationship, we can feel very lonely. And it's because we're not treating the other person like a teammate. We're not saying, hey, do you want to help me with this? Hey, here's the thing I'm going through. Do you want to talk through this with me? And you're treating them kind of like the other. You're keeping this secret from them almost. You're feeling this feeling or a lack of feeling, and you're going, I'm not going to tell them about it. I'm just going to deal with it on my own. That's treating them like they're the fucking enemy. So bring them onto your team. It's you and them together. It's you and me. It's not you versus me. We're not in a boxing match. We're on this team together. We both want to win. We both want to build something beautiful, whether that's a friendship, sexual relationship, marriage, whatever it might be, working relationship. Build it with that person. So I'll sum up by saying, if you want to feel love or gratitude or closeness or intimacy or any of these feelings, don't just sit there and wait to feel that feeling. And don't just sit there and, if you are feeling it, don't hope that that feeling will just magically last forever. It probably won't. Like it's not that it will go away, but if you don't do anything, if you don't take any action to keep that dream alive, to water the garden, as I say, or to keep that flame burning, it'll probably fade out on its own. That's kind of just what happens, right? And so if you want love, do the things that help nurture it, grow it, build it, and make it more. All right, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you like the new format of me sitting in the living room. I'm going to do some videos outside. I'm going to do some in the podcast room. I'm going to do some in different rooms and different places and keep it a little bit more interesting. If you would like help with any of the topics that I talked about today, I have 2 ways of accessing my coaching. You can do $200 coaching calls with me. We'll sit down. Those are only 1 per person. We'll sit down, go through anything you might be going through, build you an awesome life. If you'd like a more hardcore coaching program, I have a 12-week coaching program, which is the all-in absolute VIP fucking access to me. We have payment plans for that if money is an issue. All the guys and girls in there are super welcoming. As always, ladies and gentlemen, go out there and crush your goals.